Okay, since the poem is not long, I will first read it and then hope my reading skill is not that bad. It's written by a child from the internment camp uh, set up to lock the American Japanese away during the World War II. The title of the poem is Faced by Yukio Ota. We don't know the author's name, but he's just a child. Okay, I will start. My heart is proud, my soul is glorious and free. My young Naisei are fighting for our lives, our country, future, and everything we stand for. We are right behind you. You are proving that we are loyal in Italy and wherever you go. You will come back victorious and free. And we will be waiting for you in this end of liberty. Notice that the poem is written by a child from the internment camp, so he was actually don't have the he didn't have the right to move around the camp or even go outside the camp. I mean, he lost his liberty. But ironically, in such a short poem, which is less than 100 words, the author used the word free twice plus the word liberty in order to showing the reader a strong pursuing of freedom from his inner mind. Especially in the end of the poem, he says, "In this land of liberty." It's really sarcasm because in the land of liberty, they lost their liberty. This is what we should think about. I mean, when we are children, we most of us has had such kind of experience of being locked at home by our parents because we did something wrongly or we say something wrongly. The experience should be quite unpleasant. I mean, for me, it's really unhappy, and I hated my parents for a long time for doing this. However, in the poem, I didn't see any clue of hatiness towards the U.S. people or the U.S. government. It's not quite easy to do so because he was actually treated with unfairness and prejudice, discrimination, such kind of negative emotions. But what I can see is there was still much brightness in his mind after all the unfair he received from this country. I must say that I quite admire the optimistic and the kindness shown in the poem. The author should be a quite amazing child. Linking back to what we learned from this class, it will not be too surprised for us to realize that the U.S. government had taken a lot of anti-Japanese actions in the history, not limiting to anti-Japanese but some anti-Asian actions, including me. I'm from China, and I was one of those people who will be treated with discrimination if I was living at that time. So, but however, at the very beginning of the anti-Asian policies took place, the what they actually did is not that harsh as what the children received during the wartime, because the government was just trying to convince the people that those Asian immigrants were actually taking advantage of the local Americans, so we should give them a bad time by lowering their wage and give them a harsh time during their daily life. However, when the real war came, things became more and more worse. It's not quite hard to understand that the US government became so mad towards the Japan because of the attack on Pearl Harbor. I mean, indeed, this is the fault of the Japanese government because they started the war. However, instead of actually they are trying to revenge on the Japanese government, but on the other hand, they also did something quite harmful to the American Japanese in America. It started from the U.S. people because they believe the mates of those American Japanese attacked their country. However, the government should lead their people to think in a positive and correct way, but actually they did not do so. Even worse, they try to convince the U.S. people that there are spies among the American Japanese, and we should just move them outside the country, and instead of letting them do damage to the country, we should put them into the internment camp. This is a quite wrongful decision because most of the American Japanese residents are innocent, including thousands of children. Even children were put into the camp. This is quite unbelievable if we judge this action from the view of today. But during that time, the U.S. government may not be that rational, and they just they just made this kind of action with rage. So when we look back at the history, like some kind of history like this, instead of just knowing the fact that what kind of things had ever happened, we should also think why things went in that way and how we can avoid those kind of mistakes made by our ancestors. So if we can really do so, it will be pretty helpful today in order to lead us to treat people from other countries like immigrants in a more good manner.